What is up there, everybody? Citrus Aviation here with yet another video. Today we are going to talk about the best molds in the model aircraft industry right now. This will be focusing on 1 to 200 scale and 1 to 400 scale molds, and I have brought Aviation 18 on for this video. Now, this is a segment taken from the Model Aircraft News Monthly July 2021 episode, which will come out very soon after this video goes live. So with no further ado, let's get to the segment, and hopefully you all enjoy this and we can have a nice little discussion in the comments about our favorite molds in 1 to 200 scale and 1 to 400 scale. Our very favorite mold from Gemini Jets and NG models. Now, usually you're gonna see your favorite model airplane YouTubers talk about and criticize molds, particularly from Gemini Jets. And so I thought we would do this interesting thing where we talk about what we think the best mold that these companies make is.
So I think the first model I want to, well, it's kind of a general, it's an aircraft to be honest, but the Boeing 757, I think across the board, that is one of the best molds from pretty much any company. Gemini Jets make a really good 757, and so do of course NG models. That's pretty much the model they didn't really start with it, but it was one of their first molds, and it's probably the mold that made them famous. And so I wanted to kind of shout out the 757 molds from both NG and Gemini Jets.
Yeah, they make a pretty solid product, both companies do. The only 757 mold I would say to avoid is the Phoenix mold, and that's just because of how outdated that one is. I don't even think Phoenix makes the 757 anymore, but you can still find some for sale. The Gemini Jets mold is actually really solid. It's not as detailed as the NG models one. Like the NG models one has more detail. They have the crease between the cargo bins and the passenger cabin. They have a better, well-rounded windward section. Gemini Jets' windwards always kind of tend to look a little blocky. Their product is still really solid. Like, the shape is really good overall, particularly in 1 400 scale. The 1 201 is really lacking behind the competition. Like, InFlight has an incredible 757 mold I'd really like to get soon. I've seen some pictures from a collector who's in a Discord server that I am in, and that InFlight 200 757 mold is insane. It's got all the little details right. The Gemini Jets 1 is still pretty solid, and they have a huge variety of 757s that you can buy from Gemini Jets and JC Wings, because they use the same mold. And the molds is really solid, and they make a decent number of them. And just overall, the overall sculpt, while it is a bit more basic than the NG Models 1 or the InFlight 200 one, it is still really good. Now, of course, NG Models makes a ton of 757s, so if you're looking for something, they probably have it in 1 to 400 scale. And the detail level on that thing is incredible. The only issues I really had with it is I think the engines are a bit too small. So that's it. The NG Models mold is outstanding, and that's definitely, I think, one of the molds worth highlighting. I haven't tried an InFlight 200 757 mold yet. In fact, I haven't bought an InFlight 200 model just because of how difficult they are to find. And because InFlight just makes so few models. Like, they release a plane, there might be only 50 of that plane ever made. So if you buy one, you're one of the lucky few people to have them. But InFlight 200 is a company I need to do more investigation on, but from everything I've heard, their models are incredible.
I think as well, some of the 757s that have been released over the past few months from Gemini Jets in particular have been really cool. Some of the kind of like the retro and the classic 757s from kind of the US. We've had America West, Eastern, TWA, and not just the airlines, but special liveries as well. I remember a few that have been released, like the Ohio livery from, I believe, American West. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was a June release. Pretty cool plane.
Yeah, but a lot of those liveries are really cool, and I've been partially tempted by them, but ultimately I didn't go for them. But they are very cool models that, you know, if I had a little bit extra kind of a will to get them, I probably would, but there we go.
Yeah, they did make them a 1-400 about 15 years ago, so if you're looking for those are definitely an option as well. Obviously not as detailed as the newer one, and not as detailed as the 1-200 plane, but they're still pretty cool, and you can get them for pretty cheap. The next mold that I think is worth highlighting is the NG Models 737 NG mold. They now have all of the 737 NGs, the 600, the 700, the 800, and the 900. at the time that we are recording this video, they have not made any of the Dash 600s yet, but they've made the 7, 8s, and 9s, and they just make the best 737 NG mold ever. Like, next generation models is selling what they can do with this plane. Like, the detail level is 757 detail level, just in a smaller package. The only issue I have with that is that they don't have a stand in the 737s. There's no stand hold, so you can't put on a stand, but the detail is excellent. The curvature of the planes is perfect to the actual airplane. The details are incredible, like the attention to detail, the antenna position, the colors, some of the printing on it. It's just really, really well done. They put SATCOM boxes where they're supposed to be, including the right shape and size, and they are making a ton of them. So if there's something that you're looking for, assuming that it hasn't been released, it'll probably come out in the next couple years. So you just have to be patient and wait, or you can just buy one that's available right now. Clearly the best Boeing 737 mold ever made goes to the NG models 737 NG mold.
I definitely agree. Although this segment is more about kind of building up molds, considering the state of the Gemini Jets 737, I am very glad that we have the NG 737 to kind of redeem the not so great 737 mold from Gemini Jets, because the 737 is, I believe it is the most sold commercial aircraft in real life, of course. So of course there are tons of 737s all around the world, so it's nice to see them being produced. There are, as I said, there's just so many different kind of combinations of aircraft, airlines, and of course there's so many specific types of 737s as well. Of course we don't have all the 737 types. It'd be cool to see NG go down the route of making like the 200, the 300, some of those older 737s as well, but at the moment, like the NG 737s that we have, they are amazing. And as well, they have listened to us. When the 737-800 first came out, the nose gear was a little bit too long, and a lot of people brought that up to NG, and they changed that. I believe only a couple months later they were producing the same exact model, but just with a shorter landing gear. So it shows that they are listening to the criticism as well. They're not just saying, you know what, this is good enough, we're going to leave it there. They're actually making an effort to make this model as great as it can be.
And that is truly a sign of one of the great companies, is when they listen to customer feedback and they improve a product, which is fantastic.
Another mold that I've raved about a lot in the past is the A400M. This is a mold that Gemini Jets produced, I believe, about a year ago now, and so far they've released, I believe, 3, if my memory's not mistaking me. They've released the Royal Air Force A400, the Luftwaffe A400, and the French Air Force A400, and the mold is amazing. It's just a really nice mold. I'm a fan of the A400 anyway, so I just love the 1-400 mold that they've made. It's really, really nice, and there's quite a few more that they can release. Of course, the next most prominent operator of the A400 is the Spanish Air Force, and of course there's a few more as well. Luxembourg have one, I know that Malaysia have a few as well, so there's quite a few more they could make, and I would love to see a 1-200 version of it released as well. I would definitely get the Royal Air Force A400. I'm just a fan of the A400, and the mold that they've made of the A400, they blow it out of the water. It's great.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have some footage overlaid here of him unboxing them, but the plane, it just looks incredible from the videos. I haven't gotten one yet in person myself, but it looks amazing. And it's actually one of the few Gemini Jets molds that doesn't look bad with a one-piece wing. So the A400 has a one-piece wing where it goes all the way across, and of course the wing hooks up to the aircraft on the top. And just for whatever reason, it doesn't look terrible. So congratulations Gemini Jets for not making a terrible looking one-piece mold. So that's really cool.
Yeah, the one criticism I've had of it, and it's not really to do with the mold as such, it's probably just a one-off kind of defect, but when I got my French Air Force A400, I noticed that they'd made some small adjustments to it. They added a few extra antennas, and the one of the props was kind of pointing a little bit too much upwards, if that makes sense. That wasn't very great, and I don't know whether that had something to do with the adjustments they made to the mold. But overall, it's still an amazing model.
Yeah, it could have just been a defect with the one that you had, because those propellers,
Yeah, I think
they're
so.
really tiny, and I have seen that happen when people get their props just like messed up just because of sipping or whatnot.
Yeah, my Blue Angels C-130 was horrendous.
We're gonna go to another obscure mold, is that I really like the NG Moulds 1/200 scale Gulfstream G550 mold. Now, at the time that I'm recording this, I only have 3 of them, and they're all 3 of the Nike releases, and I have the 4th one should be coming here within a week or 2 whenever the NG Moulds June releases come in stock. Those G550s the NG makes are incredible. The detail level on them is insane, and I really like all the little details that they put into the G550 mold. Like up front, there's on the nose, there's a little section that kind of sticks out a little bit on the underside for a sensor. And that little ridge is modeled on the NG one. They even put a little black dot where the sensor, the camera, or whatnot that is there. And it's just that sort of attention to detail that I like about the NG Gulfstream G550. I have called it in a previous video the best small 1/200 scale model as far as the mold, and I still stick by that, and I think it's incredible. Another cool thing is they sell the landing gear tilted forward, because on those planes, the G550s, the landing gear aren't straight up and down like they are on most aircraft. They actually have like a slight tilt to them when they're locked in the gear's extended position, and NG Ball shows that, which is really cool. They put the proper number of antennas on it. It's just really, really nicely done. And I really am happy by the Gulfstream G550 mold, and I really, really want to see more private jets of 1/200 scale. I think that's going to be a lucrative business for somebody. And the Gulfstreams, they're nice. I really like the NG Miles version of it.
Yeah, I don't know at the moment what they're like, of course. I do have 4 of them on order. I don't yet have them. I know you said you think it's the best 1/200 small aircraft. Personally, I wouldn't go that far, because I know you don't have any, so you probably don't know, but the 1/200 Herpa fighter jets and some of the smaller military aircraft that Herpa make, they are really nice. So I'm definitely going to see, of course I don't have my G550s yet, so I don't know, but I'm definitely going to see quality wise how they compare to the 1/200 Herpa fighter jets.
And one of the cool things about 1/200 scale, because I've considered doing some 1/72 scale. In fact, I actually have some kits I need to put together at some point. I'll make that video series. But you can't exactly get a 1/72 scale military aircraft kit, like say an F-15, and then put it next to a 747 in 1/72 scale. It just doesn't work. But in 1/200 scale, the size is just about perfect, where you can have tiny airplanes like theoretically Cessnas, all the way up to 747-8s in the scale, and there are molds for those. And so I think that makes that an ideal scale if you want to do like a military collection.
Yeah, definitely. 1/200 is the perfect military scale. 1/400, some of the larger aircraft like the C-17, C-5, A400, they're all good. Of course, they make there's a company that made the F117 in 1/400. I have 4 of those, but 1/400, it's not good for those smaller military aircraft, so definitely go for 1/200 aircraft. I actually have quite a few more 1/200 military aircraft on order, so they should be coming pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited to start collecting 1/200 military aircraft. It's something that I'm still holding off a little bit on doing, but at some point you'll see me spending like $180 on a 747. But that'll be fun.
Moving away from 1/400 into the 1/200, although we technically already went there, the Gemini Jets Concorde mold from 1/200 is amazing. I think I said it's the best 1/200 model that Gemini Jets have made. The nose droops, the engines, you can set them in the thruster reversing position. It's so detailed, it's incredible.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures, and I considered jumping on some of those, but I just haven't bought them yet. Now my budget, thanks to your guys' generosity, would actually allow me to be able to get one or two of those.
Well, the trouble with the Concords is they they get expensive very quick. So if you are trying to get one, you should definitely get one soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for the next release. I'll get an Air France and a BA one. So those are ones.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping they release an Air France one, because at the moment it just seems like Gemini Jets are only releasing the Chatham Dockyard Concorde, and then they're not releasing any others, which kind of sucks. I hope they release some others, but there we go.
Yeah, when they released the current mold back in 2016, they did two releases, a BA and an Air France, and both those models are like $200, and the Air France one is even more, so
Yeah.
not exactly reasonable to get right now, but so I'll just be patient. This is one of the things about the hobby. If you want a great model, patience is gonna be your number one key. Just be patient for a model to come out new, and you can save a lot of money versus getting it on the used market. So the next model I would like to highlight, moving on to 1/400 scale, is an aircraft not made by Gemini Jets or NG Moulds, but the JC Wings plane. It is their 777-300ER mold in both 1/200 scale and 1/400 scale. But I'm particularly going to highlight the 1/400 one because that is the one that I have the most of. Now this is the current mold that Gemini Jets has not used yet. But if you have a JC Wings 333, you know that this mold is incredible. It's a completely refreshed and new version of the older 777 mold. The landing gear is still maybe a bit too tall, but the overall proportions of the plane are so much better, and the details are better. The curvature of the wings and the fuselage and the windward is incredible. It's a two-piece wing mold instead of one piece, and it has a really nice thickness to the fuselage, because the Boeing 777-300ER is actually a pretty thick aircraft. It's a gigantic plane. And one of the things I have as an issue, particularly with the Aviation 400 mold, is that it's a bit too thin. Like, the plane is just, like, not thick enough. Now, the Gemini Jets one doesn't have that problem. And the new Phoenix mold also doesn't have the issue. But some of the older molds, they're more pencil-like instead of, like, thick pencil-like. And so the new JC Wings mold is incredible. I have 3 of them. I have a Korean Air flaps down, an Air India, and an Eva Air. All incredible models. And if you ever have the opportunity to get one of these, I really recommend you do it.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with the JC Wings 777-300. I think I have one ordered, but I don't yet have one, so I don't have a lot to comment on that.
Alright, cool. You do have a decent number of 777s, right?
Oh yeah, I have a lot.
Yeah, I have been on a little bit of a buying spree for 777s in the last year. So, in the last year, I have purchased, I believe, 11 777-300ERs.
Oh wow, yeah. I have a lot of the both the old Gemini Jets mold and the Phoenix mold. They're the main two that I have.
That's cool. 4 of which of those new 777s are appearing in mass unboxing number 8. I have an Aviation 400 Air China and China Southern 333, a Gemini Jets Air France 333, and a Phoenix Models Thai 333 in that unboxing. So I've kind of always had it in my mind to have a big 333 collection because I think it's one of the coolest wide-body airplanes. You know, I've come to a point, thanks to the fact that YouTube actually makes money now, that I can actually afford those planes. So my goal is probably going to be to have a total collection of around 20 to 25. It would cover all the airlines and liveries I'd like. So about halfway there, and we'll be done soon. But yeah, I've always wanted a 777-300 collection, and JC Wings just makes the best one right now. But that's in a sea of really nice 333 mold. The Phoenix mold, I think it's really good now. The landing gear sucks, but other than that, the rest of the plane is really nice. The Gemini Jets mold is really the most outdated of them all. They really just need to start using the new JC Wings one. It's so much better. The Aviation 400 one is the most detailed of all the molds. They get all the little details right. The only issue is that the plane just looks, I don't know, it doesn't look chunky enough, you know? You know how, like, you've seen pictures of 777, it's like a huge aircraft. The Aviation 401 just doesn't have that 333 feeling. It feels like it looks like a 777 that went on a diet.
Yeah.
Okay. There is 2 molds I think are really, really underrated that I think I'll just mention here at the end of this section. That is the MD-11 mold from Gemini Jets and the MD-80 mold from Gemini Jets. Both of these molds are fairly old, like they've had them for like 15, 20 years, and they really haven't updated them much, like just added antennas to the MD-11. But it's a really solid mold overall, and it's a really nice sculpt for the MD-11. Again, it's not as detailed as if NG models made it, probably. But it's like a really good overall shape for the MD-11. It's the best mold out there for that aircraft type. I'm personally a huge fan of it, and I have a UPS, a FedEx, and a KLM MD-11F. Sorry, the KLM is standard MD-11. The other 2 are MD-11Fs, but they're all really nice molds as far as the MD-11 goes. The MD-11 is one of my favorite older aircraft, particularly from the 90s. Really cool planes. It's a unique, kind of funky design. And I like that the Gemini Jets shows those details. It's actually one of the more detailed older molds. And another mold that's kind of similar to it, older aircraft from the 1980s, is the MD-80. Now this mold, they really haven't changed much at all ever since coming out of it. Really always has been one of their more detailed molds. Like if you look at the printing on the MD-80s, it's actually really detailed. Like the underside of the engine and the fuselage is incredibly detailed, lots of printed details. It would be cool to have some antennas and whatnot. But overall, this is a pretty decent quality mold, and it's just a shame that they haven't used it enough. They just haven't made enough MD-80s. But overall, it's a pretty nice mold, and one of those really underrated molds that people don't talk about very much, which is really, really good.
Yeah, I think I agree. Both the molds, they're almost like, they're kind of the molds that are just, I mean, they're good. They're not so good that they're talked about, but they're not bad that they're talked about either. So they just they're in that sweet spot where they just kind of fly under the radar. No pun intended. Yeah, they're just really nice models.
And I think that's another thing why people don't talk about them is Gemini Jets just doesn't make enough of them. Like there are so many MD-11s and MD-80s they could make that they haven't. And so people don't talk about a plane they don't see much of.
Yeah, I agree.
So that has been our little conversation on our favorite molds in 1 to 200 and 1 to 400 scale. If you have a mold that you really, really like, put them down in the comments below. I'd really like to see what some of y'all think. I know there's some L Classics molds that people really like and some other brands from some other molds like In-Flight 200. We're just going to talk about the molds that we really have experience with. And really want to see what your guys' feedback is on your favorite molds. Put that down below. And that is it pretty much for this video. I would like to thank Aviation 18 for joining me on today's video. I hope you guys enjoy this different type of video, and hopefully the model aircraft news drought of 2021 comes to an end soon. So, do you have anything you want to say to finish the video?
Not in particular, but as usual, thank you for having me, and make sure you subscribe to Citrus Aviation.
And yeah, I would like to return the favor and say, hey, if you haven't checked out Aviation 18, what are you doing with your life? He is probably the biggest member of our community, and he makes some really cool content. His Dulles Airport is going to be completed soon. I'm really excited to see what that looks like, and I'm sure you guys will really like it as well. He's just got one of the coolest collections, and I mean, how can you not subscribe to a guy who has his model planes stored in an Apple self-like thing? It's really cool. So go check out his channel. He's got very cool content. Hopefully he'll be coming to the United States here in the next year where we can do a meet and greet. That is it for this episode. I want to thank you all so much for joining us for this video. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.